Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Islamic podcast. So, Alice O'Connor, our Cosmicskeptic, made a video regarding Zakir Naik and blasphemy laws. And a lot of you guys wanted me to make a video on this, so I figured, why not? So yeah, let's take a look and see what he says, and then I'll make my response.
Why is Islam, seemingly more than any other religion, at least at the moment, so sensitive to criticism and mockery? In 1988, Salman Rushdie, an established and well-respected author, published a novel in the UK called The Satanic Verses, which parodied Islamic themes. The following year, the Ayatollah Khomeini, supreme leader of a foreign country, Iran, issued a fatwa ordering Muslims worldwide to seek out and kill Mr. Rushdie because the novel was deemed to be so offensive to Islam. A foreign government issued a death warrant for the writing of a novel in a free, secular country and offered $6 million to anyone who managed to kill him, resulting in Rushdie being forced into hiding for almost a decade and the actual murder of a number of the book's translators. In most contexts, I think, an overwhelming defensiveness and resistance to honest scrutiny betrays a deep insecurity about the thing being protected from criticism.
For example, he's condemning Khomeini's extrajudicial fatwa, right? Because it kind of extends the border. So he's saying that if someone issues death penalty or hires someone to kill someone else, then that's a bad thing, right? But the British government does the exact same thing. For example, in a recent article, it says that the Royal Royal Air Force, which is the British Air Force, they have killed nearly 4,000 fighters in Iraq and Syria. These fighters are not in their border. His government is telling their fighters to go to another land and kill them. How is this any different than what Khomeini did? Again, I'm not saying what Khomeini did is right, but his own government is doing it. But by the way, these so-called fighters, there's literally no evidence that these are actually ISIS fighters. And I'm going to read to you the article and let me show you just how bad their justification is. It says that the RAF killed or injured nearly 4,315 enemy fighters in Iraq and Syria between September 2014 and January this year. The Ministry of Defense has said, yet the Ministry of Defense says that only one civilian was killed in the airstrike, according to figures released to Charity Action on Armed Violence, which is bullshit because a lot of American soldiers have said that that's not true. A lot more people were killed by the British airstrike. So how do they know that these people were fighters? And this is the fun part. So they say that this information of these fighters, they gathered this information based on the best available post-strike analysis. So what kind of analysis are we talking about? This, and the article says, often means relying largely on video and photos taken by aircraft flying high above the battlefield. Yeah, they decided that these 4,000 people are terrorists by watching videos of them from the sky. Now I'm curious I don't know if these people had a giant sign on their head that said that I'm a terrorist. Unless that was the case, I don't see how they exactly determined that these people are terrorists. Anyway, so the thing is, and the hypocrisy here is that Alex here is condemning Khomeini for issuing extrajudicial fatwa, ordering people to kill someone in exchange for money. Yet, the British government said the exact same thing, and it doesn't seem like he has much issues with this, or even if he does, he's quite silent about it. Vigilante justice is haram in Islam. There is no justification for this. Any kind of vigilante justice, whatever you talk about, it's not allowed in Islam. So, for example, there's a hadith which says, the Messenger said, the Muslim is the one from whose hand and tongue the people are safe, and the believer is the one from whom the people's lives are safe. You can read about this in Surah An-Nisa 4995. In a Quran verse, it says that, O you who believe, fulfill all contracts. You can read about this in Quran 5:1. Also, there's another Quran verse which says, fulfill the covenant of Allah when you have taken it, and do not break oaths after their confirmation, while you have made Allah a witness. Verily, Allah knows what you do. You can read about this in Surah Al-Nahl. So basically, the point here is that when Muslims have a covenant, they have to obey that covenant. If I have an oath with someone, or like some kind of contract with someone, I have to obey that contract. And in another hadith, and this hadith is in Sahih Bukhari, the Prophet ﷺ said, when Allah gathers the earlier and the later generations on the day of resurrection, He will raise a banner from every treacherous person, and it will be announced that this is the treachery of this person, the son of this person. And you can read about this in Sahih Bukhari 5823. So basically what this means is that in Islam, any kind of vigilante attack is prohibited. So what happened with the whole Salman Rushdie incident, all the burnings and lootings and all that, it was haram. There's a justification for this in Islam. So there's that. However, here's the funny part. There's nothing in atheism that says that this is bad either. So here basically Cosmic or Alex is committing the fallacy of inconsistency. He's being inconsistent because there's literally nothing in atheism that says either anything is either good or bad. There's nothing in atheism that says that, issuing a fatwa against someone you don't like, or for whatever reason, is any way, shape or form wrong. So him badgering about this and bitching about this means absolutely nothing, because there's nothing in his worldview that necessarily says that this is bad. So this is like his argument, right? We know this thing is bad. We know Muslims are doing it, therefore it's bad. Now, again, this is also circular reasoning, because what makes you think this is bad in the first place, right? One of his premises is not justified.
Well, Zakir Naik thinks that such sensitivity is not due to insecurity, as I think, but rather care. Let's take a listen.
Why is the Islamic world so sensitive to criticism? And why does Salman Rushdie or a European cartoonist receive death threat? The practice of fatwas should be more precise. Isn't there a better way to react to this? There should be.
So that's a good question on behalf of a non-Muslim brother, that why are Muslims so sensitive to criticism? And in reference to Salman Rushdie, why are you so sensitive to criticism? Sister, every individual is sensitive. You show me one human being in the world who is not sensitive. But the sensitivity keeps on changing. The sensitivity keeps on changing. Certain things you're sensitive, certain things you're not. So everything, the levels keep on changing, each different individual. As far as the Muslims are concerned, we Muslims, we love our great Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we love our Prophet Muhammad. And our Prophet Muhammad said that no Muslim is a Muslim until he loves Allah and a messenger more than his own self. Loves Allah and a messenger more than his own self. If you abuse me, I would not like it, but I would not mind it. I would not like it, but I would not mind it. Okay, no problem. But if you abuse Allah and his messenger, I would feel more hurt. It is not sensitive, it is because they are the closest to me. So to the Muslims, Allah and the messenger are the closest. Even closer than our children, closer than our wives, closer than our husband, closer than our own life.
Okay, so everyone's sensitive about something, says Naik. It's just that for Muslims, that something is their beloved Prophet. Fair enough. Right? To be a good Muslim, as Muhammad said himself, one must love God and his messenger more than one's own self. And so it's bound to be a sensitive issue. This kind of argumentation is unthinking and irresponsible. Right? Muslims love the Prophet more than they love their mothers. That's fine. Right? You can love whoever you please. I really don't care, and I certainly won't mock you or insult you for simply choosing to love someone. The problem is that you don't just claim this right for yourself. Right? The Islamic faith demands not only your undying love for Allah, but mine too. It says that if I refuse to share your love for the Prophet, I'm deserving of eternal torment in the fires of hell.
Really, Alex? The Quran says that you, Alex O'Connor, the guy making this YouTube video, is deserving of hellfire? Where does it say that? Because, I know that a lot of people who have read the Quran fully, and I don't think they found a verse like that that says that, you, Alex O'Connor, will go to the hellfire. So yeah, no, the Quran doesn't say this. The Quran does say that some people will go to the hellfire, and we have no idea who they are. There's your answer. He is taking a verse of the Quran that is talking about a particular group of people and is interpreting it to mean that it's talking about him. When in reality, it doesn't say that it's talking about him. I mean, how do you know you're going to end up in the hellfire? I mean, it's possible that you could embrace Islam. I don't know, like maybe some part of your life, maybe you will become a Muslim. Who knows? I don't know. So I definitely cannot say that you will go to the hellfire because we don't know the future. As a matter of fact, this is a principle in Islam. We as Muslims cannot condemn people by name and say that this person will either go to the hellfire or go to the paradise. Some scholars have said that this is actually haram. For example, in Islam QA, in Fatwa, they said specific statements referring to people by name, stating that a particular person will be in paradise or in hellfire. This is not permissible except in cases where Allah and His Messenger have informed us of it. Whoever Allah and His Messenger have mentioned by name and stated that they will be in paradise are definitely among the people of paradise, such as the 10 who were given the good news of the paradise, Al-Ashra, Al-Muspara, foremost among whom are the 4 Khalifa, Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, Umar radhiyallahu anhu, Uthman, and Ali, may Allah be pleased with them. Those who the Quran and Sunnah mentions by name and state that they will be in the hell are definitely among the people of hell, such as Abu Lahab and his wife, Abu Talib, Amir ibn Lahia, etc. And you can read about this in Islam QA's fatwa. I'll put the link in the description. Not the description, in the pinned comment. And here's the irony, Alex. I cannot say that you will go to the hellfire. That is actually haram for me to say because I don't know. I cannot even say that I will go to the paradise. Okay? Because just because I'm a Muslim doesn't mean I will go to the paradise, Alex. Okay? It could very be possible that for some reason I could end up in hellfire. May Allah SWT protect me from that. But it's possible. Same way, it could be that Salman Rushdie, this guy, it's possible that maybe during his lifetime, at some point, he might have become a Muslim, or he might have repented for his sin, and maybe he will not end up in hellfire. Maybe a apostate prophet, Ridwan, the guy that we hate with passion, maybe he will end up in the paradise. I mean, I don't know. The point is that it's impossible for me to say who will go to hellfire and who will go to the paradise. So your argument is again a non sequitur because your premise here is false. You're saying that you know you will go to the hellfire, but you don't. That's the point. Regardless, let's see what else he says.
These situations are simply not analogous. Let me make it analogous. Imagine I say to you that I really love my sister. She's just so perfect. And you say, okay, cool, good for you. If you decided to mock or criticize her, I'd be rightly offended. But now imagine I demand that because she's so perfect, you have to love her too. And that if you don't, you're going to burn in hell. I think you turn around and say, well, just who the hell do you think you are? And indeed, you might then find yourself needing to argue why you don't agree that my sister is as perfect as I make her out to be. Now imagine I say that if you do love my sister, and then you change your mind, I will literally kill you. I think you'd have something to say about that. And that's the situation we're in with Islam. This isn't some private affair, right? If Muslims simply love the Prophet and keep him to themselves, we wouldn't have an issue. The demand that I must love him too is why we resist.
What? This is the biggest straw man I've ever seen. So he's committing what is known as the false analogy fallacy. He's using a fallacy that does not represent the situation at hand. this analogy makes absolutely no sense. First of all, we're not saying that you have to respect the Prophet if you don't believe in Islam. We're not saying that you cannot criticize him in your own country if you don't believe in Islam. We're not even saying that that you have to love him. I mean, we're not Christians, dude. I think he's confusing us with Christians. I mean, sure, Christians go around and say that you must love Jesus and whatnot. We're not going around saying that you have to love the Prophet. I mean, we have to first prove to you that God exists, and then we can have the discussion about the Prophet's capture. So I don't see why you think that we want you to love the Prophet when you don't even know anything about the Prophet. I don't know why you think that. That's a very weird thing to think. But you do have the biography of the Prophet ﷺ, so I would recommend you read it and make up your own mind, or read the Quran. Then maybe have a discussion with us, with an Islamic scholar or something, and I think the truth will reveal itself. The Prophet ﷺ was one of the greatest men that ever lived, and he is the best man that ever lived, and we don't shy away from saying that because that's what we believe. If you have something to counter that with, please bring it. But saying that we're saying that we must love the Prophet is definitely not true. Regardless, let's see what else he says.
And why we continue to point out that Muhammad is not the moral exemplar that Muslims make him out to be. I won't ever mock or criticize another man's mother or brother or sister or friend or prophet without warrant. I won't criticize anybody without a proper justification.
Here he's commenting the self-conflicting conditions fallacy. He's making an argument that is self-contradictory. I mean, he says that he will never criticize anyone without any justification, and yet he's criticizing the Prophet ﷺ without any justification. You see, he has no moral justification to criticize anything the Prophet did. Anything. No matter how controversial he thinks it is. All he can do is say that, I feel like this is not right. But then again, like I said, Kim Jong-un could say that I feel like it's okay to kill people for watching South Korean movies. So what's the difference here? Again, like I said, fake outrage.
And how dare you demand that I respect your love for your Prophet because you just love him so deeply, and I shouldn't mock or criticize that love for that reason, when Islam so flatly refuses to respect the love between, say, homosexuals without criticism? Will you stop criticizing homosexuality on the grounds that gay people are sensitive about their partners and love them often more than they love themselves? I didn't think so. What we're seeing here is a demand that we respect the tenets of the Islamic faith out of decency and religious tolerance, despite the fact that Islam is so explicitly unwilling to extend the same decency and tolerance towards homosexuals.
So he said that, will you stop criticizing homosexuals? Yeah, Alex, here's the thing. I can't criticize homosexuals, especially not in your country. So in case you guys don't know, there is actually a law in the UK that bans people from criticizing homosexuals. That's right. If you're a religious person and you want to, criticize a homosexual person for practicing homosexuality, you can't do that. There are literal laws that prohibit you from, saying something to them that is sensitive. Here, let me just show you guys. There are a bunch of laws in the UK. Okay, so hate speech laws in England and Wales are found in several states. Expression of hatred towards someone on account of that person's color, race, nationality, ethnic or national origin, religion, gender, reassignment, or sexual orientation is forbidden. Any communication which is threatening or abusive and is intended to harass, alarm, or distress someone is forbidden. Now, again, this is a very vague statement because anyone can find anything offensive. And for example, if you're a Muslim and you see another Muslim who is, practicing homosexuality, then you cannot go up to that person and say, and imagine that you go up to that person and say that, this thing you're doing, this is wrong, and you should come back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and not do these evil things. Stay away from homosexuality. And the person you say this to, they feel offended. If they feel offended, they can literally go to the police and send you to jail or fine you or whatever they do. So where's the free speech here? So here's the thing, Alex. So it's okay for you to limit people's free speech, but it's not okay for us to limit free speech. How is this consistent? I mean, basically, here he's committing the false equivalence fallacy. He's trying to conflate two different arguments that has nothing to do with each other. So his basic argument is that in our religion, there are things that he finds offensive. Therefore, it is right for him to insult our religion or mock our religion, right? But here's the thing. When you mock our religion, you also mock us, right? And we find that offensive. So basically what you're doing is that you're insulting us for something that has nothing to do with us, right? Because we didn't create the religion Islam. Okay, Islam comes from God. These are the rules and regulation of God. So if you have issues with this, you should take it up with God. I mean, why are you hurting us? Why are you insulting us? Because that's basically what it says, right? I mean, you're insulting our religion, and all you're doing is insulting us as a result. But again, the laws and regulations that we have in our religion, we didn't create them. We follow them, yes, but these are not laws that we created. These are laws created by God. And again, like, there is nothing in your own worldview that says that these laws are bad. Regardless, let's continue.
Was it not Muhammad himself who burst into the Kaaba after his military conquest of Mecca and destroyed every idol of pagan worship at the site? Why should you expect me to adhere to or even respect your blasphemy laws prohibiting me from so much as drawing the Prophet, when that same Prophet himself was so blasé in the destruction of non-Islamic religious symbols? And this is something that Muslims celebrate. Don't ask us for tolerance and reverence if you're not willing to offer it in return.
Okay, so this is a lie. This is not what happened. And if you read the Syria of the Prophet ﷺ, you will know that this whole incident took place because the Quraysh, or the pagans, decided to completely massacre one of the allies of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So let me quote to you guys what actually happened. So the Quraysh, the pagans, helped Banu Bakr with weapons. So Banu Bakr was a tribe that had an alliance with the Quraysh, or the pagans. And they supplied them with weapons, while their chiefs, taking advantage of the night, fought Quza. Now Quza was an ally of the Muslims along with Banu Bakr. So basically they allied together and attacked an ally of the Muslims. Now you have to keep in mind, back then the Muslims and their allies had a treaty with the pagans. They broke this treaty, and at the middle of the night they decided to attack one of the tribes that were allied with the Muslims. And this is what happened. Their combined charge drove Khuzas into the sacred territory, but some of the Quraishites said to one another, "We are now in the sacred area. Mind your gods, mind your gods." But others replied imprudently, "We have no god today. Take your revenge, O sons of Bakr, for you may not get the chance again." You can read about this in Zad al-Mad, Volume 1, page number 419. You can also read about this in Ibn Hisham, Volume 2, page 390. Also, Muhammad Rasulullah, the Apostle of Mercy, translated by Muhyiddin Ahmed. So as you can clearly see, the Prophet ﷺ didn't just, attack these pagan idols because, he was feeling bored or something, or he wanted to insult them. That's not what happened. What happened is that these people that you're defending, these people in the middle of the night decided to break their own treaty that they had with the Muslims. They broke the treaty and committed a massacre against one of the allies of the Muslims. Not only did they commit a massacre, these allies took shelter in their holy site, the holy site of the pagans, near where the idols were, or near the Kaaba. And some of the pagans, they said that, when they did that, they said that you should mind your gods, because it's a holy site. And they didn't care. They massacred them in that place. So why should the Prophet ﷺ respect their religion when they themselves don't respect their own religion? Why should he care about their idols when they themselves don't care about their idols? I think it's a valid question to ask. And that's the reason why he broke those idols, because those were a symbol of oppression. And also because they didn't care about their own religion. They were basically atheists. They were simply following this religion or tradition because their forefathers followed them. That's it. They didn't actually believe in their own religion. And that's why he broke those idols, and he was completely justified. He didn't do it because he wanted to insult their religion. Because in Islam, it's not allowed for us to insult other people's gods. Because in the Quran, it says that, and insult not those whom they disbelieve, worship besides Allah, lest they insult Allah wrongfully without knowledge. Thus, we have made fair seeming to each people its own doing, then to their Lord is their return, and he shall then inform them of all they used to do. So basically, what this is saying is that you cannot insult other people's gods. In Islam, you cannot insult other people's god. And Prophet ﷺ, when he lived in Makkah, he never insulted their gods. As a matter of fact, he disliked it, he hated it. So, do you think a guy who is preaching this religion that says that you cannot mock other people's god will just randomly go into town and all of a sudden destroy other people's idols? No. He did this because they're the one who started it. It was because of war. It was because they broke the treaty that they had with them. And they disrespected their own religion. First of all, they broke the treaty. Secondly, they massacred people. And thirdly, they disrespected their own religion. And these are the three reasons why he probably broke the statutes. And he was completely justified. Also, another thing. The British government have literally turned cities into dust. Like Muslim majority countries into dust. You want to know how they did this? Here, let me read from a few articles. Okay, so there's one article in The Independent. It says that the UK government does not know how many civilians were killed in Syria and Iraq airstrikes. Your country doesn't even know how many innocent people they killed. Let's continue, and that's not all. Also, according to AP, an article by AP, the UN says the civil war cost Syria nearly $388 billion in damage. $388 billion. That's right. The British government and their allies have destroyed nearly $388 billion worth of infrastructure. So let me get this straight. You're upset because the Prophet ﷺ broke a few idols because those people committed a massacre. You have huge issues with that. But you're completely fine, or at least you don't seem to be bothered by the fact that your country have literally turned Syria into dust. Like, there's a footage of what happened to Syria after bombing. I want you to take a look at this footage and imagine if those were your cities. Yeah, I just wanted you to think about that for a second and roll that thought in your head. Billions, $388 billion worth of damage. Will you pay that money back to them? Will your government do that? And I'm not even mentioning the amount of people that were killed. And the thing is, the Prophet ﷺ, when he conquered Mecca, he barely killed anyone. I think a few people died, but those are the people who actually attacked the Muslim army. That's why they were killed. And others were put on trial. But here, most of these people were killed for no reason. There was no trial. And people's homes were damaged. The Prophet ﷺ didn't damage anyone's home. So you're taking issues with what the Prophet did, but you don't have any issues with your government literally turning countries into dust. How is this consistent? Another article in CSIS says that Syria is facing a serious and huge economic collapse. The country is literally collapsing from an economic perspective because of all the bombings and all the destruction of properties that your country took place in. Okay, UK and its allies. So there are nearly 400,000 people that were killed. So again, just imagine, he's upset because the Prophet Muhammad broke a few idols because they committed massacre, but he doesn't have any issues with the fact that his government have destroyed nearly billions and billions worth of properties in Syria. The Iraqi government says that in order to rebuild their infrastructure, the reconstruction after the war, it can cost up to $88 billion. $88 billion. $88 billion. That's how much building your government and their allies have destroyed in Syria. And by the way, Iraq didn't even attack UK or America or anything like that. I mean, the Meccans have been terrorizing the Muslims for years. I mean, they've oppressed them, they've tortured them, they have killed Muslims and the Prophet's followers for years. It's only after the war broke out they were defeated, and even then, most of them embraced Islam and they weren't killed. Like, the Prophet ﷺ made treaties with them. And here, your country and their allies completely, absolutely leveling a country, even though they did nothing to them. You decide for yourself which should be a better role model. But regardless, let's continue.
How can you demand that I respect your wish for me to not insult your prophet in the spirit of religious toleration if you belong to a religion which explicitly and unashamedly calls for the death penalty for apostates? Where's your religious tolerance? I tell you what, once you abolish that part of your faith, then we can have a fair and grown-up conversation about this. But I'm not holding my breath, because you believe that this injunction to kill apostates comes directly from God himself, and are proud of it as a result.
This is a part of our religion, there's a reason to it. Yeah? There's a reason why there's a capital punishment. Because people like you, little weaklings, who leave their religion and cause corruption in the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that. Under an emir, it is done, yes. And we, we'll be watching. And we're proud of that.
And these people, those celebrating the injunction to kill people who leave Islam, are the ones demanding religious tolerance from us. Yeah, right.
And ladies and gentlemen, this is the true face of liberalism. So basically, this is basically a religion, I mean, in Islamic point of view, religion means way of life, and this is his way of life, like liberalism. I say liberalism, but there's nothing in atheism that says that you have to follow liberalism or any kind of ethics, so he still doesn't have any ground to follow it. But let's say, for the sake of it, let's give him some leeway here. Let's say that it's his religion. And this is basically his religion, and this is basically what liberalism is, and he's showing his true colors here. And his true colors is this: if you, as a Muslim, do not follow his liberal religion, if you as a Muslim do not follow liberalism or the lefty politics, and don't abolish like apostasy law or change your religion, then they will insult you, mock you, ridicule you, and do all these other horrible things. This is the true face of liberalism. They do not tolerate anyone different than them. And that's why they hate the idea that the idea of us being different. And this is the thing, like people keep thinking that, liberalism is all about tolerance and whatnot. No, liberalism is all about forcing their religion onto you, onto the whole Muslim world. You know how they constantly bicker about around their mouth, like, they're very accepting of Muslims and minorities and blah, blah, blah. Complete nonsense. Complete nonsense. They will never accept you. Do you know why they will never accept you? They will never accept you because you're different. Your religious belief system is different. You believe in different things. They will never accept that because they think they're superior and you're a savage. That's their worldview. That's their religion. That's what they think. They cannot accept the fact that we have a religion, we have a religious tradition that is different than them. They have to force us to accept their religion. If we don't accept their religion, they are going to insult us, mock us, do all of these things. See, the difference between your religion, Alex, and mine is that mine teaches tolerance. Mine teaches that as long as you stay in your own land and, do whatever, you can have whatever kind of laws you want. As long as you don't oppress us, don't attack us, as the Quran says, to you your religion, to me mine religion. We don't try to force our religion onto you, but you force your religion onto us constantly. And whenever a Muslim country has some kind of anti-gay law, you put them in sanctions on them. Do you know what a sanction does to a country? Sanctions basically means that you put restrictions on doing business with them, which means they can no longer do business with people. So you're literally willing to starve people to death because we don't follow your religion. That's liberalism in a nutshell. Now this liberalism has two faces. One is they force the liberal law onto your land, or two, they will shame you into accepting their religion. When forcing doesn't work, and they know they can just force everyone to accept liberalism, they will shame you. They will say, you're a bad person, you're following a bad religion, blah, 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 blah. But they will never accept you for who you are. And that's the truth. And it saddens me because I see a lot of Muslims being brainwashed by this thing. They don't understand. When the whole debate with Cosmicskeptic and Muhammad Hijab happened, I saw so many brainwashed Muslims supporting Cosmicskeptic, like he's some kind of messiah or something. Let me tell you guys a truth. This is what he actually believes. Okay, and he's being honest here. So he will never accept you or respect your belief. Because he can't accept things that are different than him. He's not willing to accept things that are different than him because he thinks he's superior. And yeah, so stop pandering to this guy. Anyway, let's continue.
Allah and the Messenger are the closest. Even closer than our children, closer than our wives, closer than our husband, closer than our own life. So that's the reason what you should say. Your question should be reframed. That why do the Muslims love Allah and the Messenger so much?
No, the question should not be reframed. Remember, the question is asking specifically why Islam is so sensitive. I promise you that Christians love Jesus just as much as you love Muhammad. But if I caricature or insult Jesus, I don't get death threats as a result.
Yeah, that's because you're hanging out with nice Christians. But trust me, not all Christians are like this. For example, there's a recent BBC article Let me just read to you guys a little bit from it. In Central Africa, recently there was a really, not recently, it was a year back, I think, a few years back actually, this is in 2013. So in Central African Republic, there's a massive violence and riots that's been happening between Muslim and Christian community there. So the article in BBC, it says, religious violence in Central African Republic has reached a new extreme with an act of cannibalism in the capital of Bangui. The BBC's Paul Wood has heard a graphic first-person account which some might find upsetting. The buses throwing up clouds of red clay dust had yet to rub out the ugly bloodstain in the dirt. A Muslim man had been murdered here a few days ago by Christians. His limbs were hacked off. Then one of the crowd ate the flesh in a public demonstration of cannibalism. He's saying that, Christians don't attack me when I insult them. Yeah, sure. Christians in the West don't attack you. Christians in Africa and other places in the world will literally eat you just for being a Muslim. So yeah, just because you don't face these Christians in your everyday life doesn't mean they don't exist. Regardless, let's continue.
Tell me one human being. You get the human being. If you abuse him, you won't matter. If you abuse on his mother, he'll get angry. If you abuse in the name of the mother, they get angry. So we love our Allah and our messenger more than our mother also.
Sure, but if my mother was a public figure, as Muhammad was and is, and my mother started advocating for totalitarian theocracy to be installed, not only would I not mind people criticizing her, I'd be the first to do it.
He strawmans Zakir Naik this whole video. Zakir Naik never said that the fact that Muslims are upset, that's the reason why you should not insult the Prophet. He's not saying that. All he's explaining, and I watched the video, I know that he didn't say this. In the video, all he did was explain why Islam is so sensitive, meaning why Muslims are so sensitive. He's not saying that you have to stop criticizing the Prophet because we're upset. He's simply saying or explaining why Muslims are upset. That's it. And yet, this guy makes a mountain out of nothing. So this whole video is a complete straw man. But regardless, let's see what else he says.
But only if you leave us alone too. Stop criminalizing homosexuality. Stop advocating for the execution of apostates. And then you can expect a similar religious tolerance from us in return.
Yeah, and that's the end of his rant. Okay, so he is saying that get rid of blasphemy laws, get rid of apostasy laws. You know what? I'll make you a deal. How about this? Get on your knees, beg to all the Syrians, all the Iraqis, all the Afghan people for living in a country and supporting a political system that has caused billions of dollars worth of damage to their countries, that have killed millions of people, that have destroyed people's lives, their economy, that have literally turned countries into dust. Go ahead and apologize to them for promoting this same ideology that has caused this much destruction in their lands. Go and apologize to them. Once you have apologized and you have paid back all of this money that you have caused in terms of damage, these trillions of dollars, then and maybe then, once you do that, and I didn't even mention all the awful things that happened in my country. That's a different discussion. Once you do that, then maybe we'll consider hearing you out. How about that? So no, we're not changing our religion because you don't like it. You're sticking to it because it's the truth, it's from God, and yeah, and you're not gonna shame us for believing in the truth. Now, here's the thing: if you're not gonna apologize for the things that your government has done, then we have nothing to apologize for laws that come from God Himself. And that's my message to Alex O'Connor. With this, I'm in the video. It's already been far too long. My battery is running out of charge. And with this, I'm in the video. Thank you guys for watching. And if you like my video, then please consider like, sharing, and subscribing. And also, please, if you can, support me on Patreon. Again, I make the money from these videos. All the money or support that I get from Patreon. So please consider becoming a Patreon. It would mean the world to me. And and thank you guys for watching. And I'm going to end the video now. Thank you guys for watching. Jazakallah khair. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.